We've got a big news today because the deal is done. AfCFTA and the African Continental Free Trade Area today in Cairo, Egypt, signed an agreement relating to the management of the base fund of the AfCFTA Adjustment Fund. Now, the resources required for the adjustment fund over the next 5 to 10 years are estimated at about $10 billion, out of which the AfCFTA has already committed $1 billion. Now, that fund aims to support African countries and the private sector to effectively participate in the new trading environment, which was established under the new AfCFTA. Now, let's take a listen to the head of the AfCFTA, Lewam Kelemene, the head of AfCFTA, Dr. Benedict Orama, and a top Egyptian official at the signing event.
There is no other institution that has stepped forward and that has said, we want to contribute to the development of our continent in the way in which AfCFTA has made available this $1 billion for us to be able to. There is no other institution that has helped us to make sure that the AfCFTA becomes the reality that we want it to become. And so today I am extremely grateful to my senior brother, Professor Orama, Managing Director, Madam Hawani, members of the board in its entirety, for approving this facility that will make sure that the AfCFTA is implemented for the benefit of our continent, to advance industrialization, to make sure that our continent is integrated. I think that as we sit here today, Your Excellencies, ambassadors, as we sit here today, we know in this room that we are witnessing a historic moment. I also know that 20, 30 years down the line, today will really be a remarkable historic milestone, because people will look back and they will say, how was this agreement implemented? What are the tools that they used to implement this agreement? And the adjustment facility and the agreement that we're signing today, certainly, in my opinion, is the main tool that we require to make sure that this agreement is successfully implemented. Last month, as you may well be aware, we launched the Pan-African Payments and Settlement System in Accra on the 13th of January. We have, in this partnership between AfCFTA and the AfCFTA Secretariat, we have in the shortest period of time achieved what objectively I would say is remarkable success in how we are going to make sure that trade finance becomes accessible to many Africans, and that trade under the AfCFTA becomes accessible to our small medium enterprises, to young entrepreneurs across our continent. So the payments and settlement system will enable us as Africans to overcome these challenges that we have identified for many, many years. The cost of currency convertibility, the inefficiency of trading with a third currency, the lack of competitiveness that trading with a third currency causes. And so we have to be, as Africans, I believe, we have to be extremely proud that we have now introduced these practical tools to make sure that trade in Africa becomes a reality under the AfCFTA. And I don't think that we would have been able to do it as a secretariat without AfCFTA. I was told the other day on the flight, somebody said to me, well, you know, Secretary General, We are worried about your partnership with AfriximBank. We think that AfriximBank has too much influence over the Secretariat. This is what I was told a day ago. So I listened very, very carefully. And then I said, thank you very much for this feedback. But you tell me, if it is not AfriximBank, which is the mandate that AfriximBank has to finance trade in Africa, who's going to do it?
We are making progress. The harder they come, the harder they fall. One by one, we will build the architecture that will make the AfCFTA a real implementable agreement and not a political wish. Sparing time for your busy schedules, sparing the time for your busy schedules to witness this historic moment attests to the significance of the Adjustment Fund to intra-African trade promotion. It tells us that we have an urgency to deliver on the aspirations of our people. This event is being marked by a simple ceremony, but as the Secretary General mentioned, it is historic and will be remembered for many years as we write the history of the implementation of this agreement. It will be studied by so many in the years to come. The event is holding on the heels of other trailblazing initiatives, which we've done collaboratively with the AfCFTA Secretariat and the African Union.
AfCFTA shouldn't be considered as a mere trade agreement, but rather a step closer to achieve our vision of an integrated African market and a major instrument for Africa's industrial development. Today, and after a few years of negotiations, we are now getting much closer to taking the AfCFTA out of the treaty text and into the African citizens' lives. But as we do so, we must ensure that the AfCFTA is inclusive to all of us in Africa and a successful enabler to shared growth across the continent. That's particularly why the AfCFTA Adjustment Fund comes as a cornerstone in its domain, as it will provide a platform to achieve important goals, including easing the effect of the tariff revenues losses on some African member states. In addition, supporting and enabling both the public and private sector in the African member states to adjust and take advantage of the opportunities created by the implementation of the AfCFTA. Egypt fully supports this very important initiative and will be actively promoting the engagement of various development partners and financial institutions to provide grants as well as technical and financial resources to support this very important fund. Ladies and gentlemen, Before I conclude, I want to express my appreciation for all the efforts done by AfriEximBank, being the main catalyst for the success of the implementation of AfCFTA. Through the bank mandate of enhancing and promoting intra-African trade between African member states. On the other hand, I would like to congratulate His Excellency Mr. Wamkeli Mini, SG, for his sincere efforts, actually, in steering the agreement with national stakeholders to arrange and execute multiple negotiations rounds and conduct formal and non-formal engagements to facilitate and expedite the implementation of the agreement in a remarkable way. In conclusion, I would like to emphasize that we all have a great responsibility to ensure that the AfCFTA becomes operational as soon as possible, so that the African citizens can finally benefit from a strong intra-African trading system, enhanced economies based on more industrialization and involvement in the global value chains.